Welcome tonight, everyone. I am here with my sister. Tonight we're back again. This is our second round. Actually, you kind of motivated me to say, get in the face of God and be like, okay, there's a lot of trauma going on out here in these streets. Let's get this right. Let's get this thing right. Trauma's coming from so many ways. It's crazy, Angel. I'm so embracing next week's conversation because it's with the men. I released my book and it's been like so many men just coming to me wanting to talk and just share. And so I know that most of them are very private. Your light is blinking. You see that?
I don't know what it is.
So
I'm sorry.
I know. I just saw that. I'm sorry. I didn't want us to go a whole session with that blinking. I wanted to fix that if it's possible. But yeah, so I'm really embracing next week's session with the men as they begin to share with us. I mean, as I have Q Morgan come on, but tonight I am talking with Angel Hollins. And Angel is a certified herbalist who is we're gonna chop it up. We're gonna unwrap just trauma and what the impact that trauma has to the body. I believe that so many people just do not understand, like, when we carry around the weight of trauma, actually what it kind of does to our body. So before we dive in, Angel, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm trying to.
Okay. I'll talk about me because I haven't talked about me. I am Barbara Bankston. I am a pastor, a coach, a friend. I do ministry. I have a ministry called Passion Purpose Power. I also have a Unlimited Purpose, which is a coaching. We do coaching and we do workshops. I just released my book, Unmasking, A Journey to Wholeness. And before we get started, there was a passage that I wanted to read out of the journal. I wanted to just drop it on us. And it's called Unmasking Sadness. I think that as we begin to, and I thought this was very appropriate for tonight, as we begin to go into trauma and the effects of trauma and what that has and how that plays out in our body when we're in a place of sickness. In Psalms 55 and 22, in Psalms 55 and 22, it says, "Come close to me and give me your answer. Here I am, here I am moaning and restless. I'm preoccupied with the threats of my enemy, and crushed by the pressure of their oppression." And so um it's something about seeing someone who is just sad, right? And they walk around with their countenance just sad, and their heart is sad, and their mind is sad, and everything about them just exudes a place of sadness. Um, Depression tries to take over, anxiety tries to take over, and it's like just a cloud of darkness just kind of overshadows that person. And if we stay in these places too long, those type of things begin to penetrate to our bodies, and they affect our bodies, and they affect our heart. They can affect our liver. It can affect our kidneys. It just can go in and it can begin to affect so many parts of us. And so tonight, Angel, she kind of checked out on me, but tonight, Angel and I are just going to really go in and we're going to unwrap like gut health. We're going to go in and we're going to unwrap just how, when we don't resolve trauma, when we don't deal with trauma, when we don't go get therapy, when we don't go get coaching, when we don't, and we just allow these things to stay dormant and to settle inside of us, that these very things will, um, begin to take ownership in our body. It'll begin to try to own who we are, and we don't want that. But in essence, it just kind of take over our body. And so, hopefully, Angel will be right back with us. Oh, she dropped all the way out. And so tonight we're just going to discuss. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments in reference to trauma and how it affects our body, she's going to give us strategies. She's going to give us tools. She's going to help us to be able to do some of these things naturally, because there are natural things that you can do for yourself and for your body to help you come out of that place of trauma. One of the things that, so the first week I had Erica Miller on, and Erica was a therapist. She is a therapist, and she deals with the family, and she deals with marriages, and she deals with family and children. And so one of the things she did, she gave us this amazing, and I have it in my memory now. She gave us an amazing definition for trauma. And she said that trauma is anything that causes your it is anything that causes your perception to become changed, right? Anything that any life circumstance that happens to you that causes your perception to be altered is trauma. And then last week I came on with Pastor Demita, and we began to unwrap about women and trauma, and we talked about just how trauma really shifts you. It can shift you into a mindset, shift you into a place, it can shift you into an atmosphere, and just how it affects you, and then how it affects your mind. And we talked about it very specifically from the place of a woman and what happens to us. And usually that trauma for us, it kind of takes over our mind, and it causes us to come off path for our life. So today we're going to talk about, not only we're going to dig a little deeper, and we're going to pull back some more layers. And so we're going to talk about the trauma and how it affects our body. And so Angel, I know you weren't on earlier. I mean, you kind of went off, but I was talking about
I'm
how we're going to talk
sorry.
about, okay, babe, we're going to give strategies, we're going to give tools. We want to make sure that because we gave tools last week for the women, and then Erica, we gave tools for the family. And so tonight we want to give tools for the body, because we know that trauma, we understand that, life circumstances happens, right, and it settles inside of
Mhm.
us, and it tries to take over our body. It tries to penetrate past our mind, and it starts trying to settle inside of our bodies, and it wreaks havoc, like almost like a cancer inside of us. So go ahead and introduce yourself, and we're going to jump right in, and we're going to unwrap this trauma.
Hi, I am Angel. I am a certified herbalist. Um, I don't know how much has far explained about me, but I've been on this journey to like gut health for maybe almost like the past year. But on this journey, I've been learning a lot when we talking about trauma tonight. Learning a lot about stress, learning a lot about triggers, and learning a lot about how the two go hand in hand. And what kind of put me on this journey, as I stated before when we was on here, I had wind up having two like mini strokes. I became really ill. I found out I was diabetic, so I was having a lot of health issues that kind of propelled me on this journey, which I'm kind of glad that it did happen, because it pushed me into a whole nother place where there were some things that I already kind of knew, but this journey kind of started showing me how things work hand in hand, that my level of stress is affecting why I'm sick. I remember when the doctor told me that my body was deficient in vitamin D, B12, A, K, and I'm like, how? I was like, but the way that I eat, I said I eat a very, very good diet, but then I understood psychologically my mind was depleted. So because I was depleted psychologically and physically, it started to affect my health. So when I would eat, my body wasn't absorbing none of the nutrients or anything from food. It was just kind of like I was having like a diarrhea, like my stomach was messed up. I know that's a little bit too much, but that is what it is. And so I just started to understand the importance of gut health. So I'm excited about discussing this topic tonight with Pastor Barb. It is a lot to unravel. It's very loaded, very broad. And so I'm excited.
I'm excited to have you. We are going to. I love talking with you, because we always have a good time. I would just want
Right.
to remind everyone, please say hi to us, reach out to us in the chat if you have any comments, any questions. Please, please, please. ask your questions. We are checking the chats. We will respond to you, even if it's not during the live broadcast. We will come back and we respond to you. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube page is Barbara Bankston. So if you have not subscribed, jump on there and subscribe to our YouTube page. We would love to interact with you. We're going to continue this unmasking series. And so, Angel, we're just going to jump right in. So let's go ahead and unwrap. Let's just go ahead and unwrap. So what does it look like when we usually see the effects of trauma and trauma begins to settle into a body? What are some of the things that, what are some of the manifestations that we usually see as a result of having a trauma within the body?
So I think one thing we got to understand is that like our body runs by systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so how trauma gets in the body is through one of our systems, and that's our digestive system. So your digestive system is like from your mouth to your anus. It
Mm-hmm.
is all of that in between. So generally everything that you eat has to go through this process. You chewing, it's going down, going through its process to eliminate. But the gut is where everything start to get broke down at, right? But what happens with when trauma and the gut connects, because trauma is more psychological. So we have what you call a vagus nerve. That nerve sends transmitters to your gut. And it's like, say for instance, if let's say if you ate something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you ate something, and then something traumatic happens to you after that. What's going to happen is, because your body is up under so much stress, so much pressure, it has just had an experience, it's not going to break down any food. So now your
Wow.
mind and your body is wrestling, like, what do I do? Am I going to break down this food, or because it trauma will send your body, your digestive system into a fight or flight. So in the meantime, it's trying to figure out what to do. If that trauma don't get dealt with right then and there, it's like it's almost paralyzing your intestines. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things you begin to see, people who have like IBS, people who deal with post traumatic stress, people who have like frequent diarrhea, people who are constipated, people who deals with a lot of bloating. A lot of times and that's just a few. Those are signs of trauma in your gut, or too much stress has gotten into your gut. Because what happens is, when we develop a level of stress, right? So you get stressed out, you get overwhelmed. That's a natural emotion. You're going to get stressed. But what
Mm-hmm.
happens is, when you get too much stress in the body and it don't get treated and it don't get dealt with, it say, okay, I'm going to find a place to settle. Like some people, they get under a lot of stress and they say, I have the bubble guts, or their stomach get, I'm saying, it's like queasy, nauseated. Different things begin to happen because your body is working internally trying to figure out. And when I was saying about the brain and the digestive tract being connected, once it's sending nerves, it's trying to say, am I going to relax, or am I going to run? Am I going to
Mm-hmm.
stand up? Can I digest it? So your body is going through all of this stuff, and then you start to develop inflammation, because now your body's starting to hurt, because it's like, I can't break down no food. I'm not hungry. I don't know what to do. So your mind is on this cycle, and the more and more that your mind and body go on this journey, the more you're going to have high cholesterol, diabetes is going to form, all of these things, because your digestive system and your gut is not able to function the way that it needs to, because something traumatic has happened to your brain.
It's funny that you say this. I'm sure this is something that I don't think I've shared, like, I don't really recall sharing this, but like maybe it's probably been about 10 years now, 10 years ago, plus 10 or plus years ago. I was working and I had a very specific boss at the time, and I was working and I was under so much stress with this boss that I almost had a stroke. And I was, so I was like in my 40s, probably in my early 40s, and I almost had a stroke. And it was clearly because I was just stressed out from that boss. And every day when I would drive into work, I literally would drive into work in complete silence, and I would drive home in complete silence because I was trying to detox. So when I got home to my family, that I would be able to present myself without all the stresses of what happened at my job. And so as you were talking just now, that's what I thought about. I thought about how my body started reacting to that stress because I couldn't figure out how to stop that. I couldn't figure out how to deal. I was like, I'm gonna quit this job because no job is worth my life, right? And so I was ready to
Mhm.
quit the job because I almost stroked out on it. And so it is true that if you don't learn how to handle stress properly, that it can take a life of its own inside of your body. I want you to
Mhm.
talk about, because I know a lot of people deal with constipation. So you talked a little bit about the stress being the form of constipation, or the root of the constipation could be some stresses that you're not releasing properly. How do
Mhm.
we get our digestive tracts? Of course, we got to figure out the mind thing and do the proper things for the stress, but how do we get that our bowels and our get our the stress and get our bloating and get that stuff under control, so that we can, because you have to eliminate, right? You can't keep those
Mhm.
poison toxins in your body for days and days and days.
Mhm.
So how do we do that? Because that's going to create a whole nother stressor on you. It's going to create a level of anxiety, you know what I'm saying? People be mean because they ain't use the bathroom, right? So how do we get to that place where we're eliminating? What are things that we can do naturally that will help us to eliminate in a on a nice cycle, on a proper cycle?
Well, you got to understand the body needs probiotics and prebiotics, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
you need a probiotic is helping like restore the natural bacteria in your gut. But then you have a prebiotic. So the let's say the probiotic is the car, the prebiotic is the person driving the car. So you really need both of them because you need that driving force. So you get you a probiotic. You can do something like Activia. If you look at most Activia yogurts, it tells you that it's a probiotic. It has live enzymes. Enzymes is something that the gut need because that's what helps to break down your food. So it has like high in fiber, like flaxseed, turmeric,
Mm-hmm.
dandelion root, like different type of greens, because those are high in fiber. So when the two of them are blended together, they will start to restore that balance in your gut. And when that starts to get balanced, that relaxes your muscles. It starts to give your body that energy it needs. It starts to perk. You know what I'm saying? It's like your gut back up. But then another thing, because your immune system sits in your gut, you need to do things like elderberry, do things like vitamin C to start building your immunity as well. Because you can have a strong immune system, but a poor gut. Or you could have a poor immune system and a poor gut. So the goal is to work on both of those. And then you have to start doing some things, some stress management things, meditation. Ashwagandha is something that I recommend because ashwagandha helps deal with your cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone. So you need some things that help deal with your stress hormone. So now if you start to work on your gut, work on your immune system, and you working on the mind, then your body will start getting the balance. So ashwagandha, that is something that I feel that everybody needs. They need to drink. They got it in the tea form. They got it in the gummy form. They got it in the capsule form. Um, burdock root tea. Burdock root tea is something that helps heal the gut. It detoxes the gut, your intestines. It detoxes your kidneys and your liver, and that's something that'll start keeping your bowels regular because it's healing your gut. Dandelion root is the same. It's the same way. It's a natural diuretic, so it's getting it's working on your heart. It's getting it acts as like a water pill. So it's getting that excess water off. So as all of these natural things is working, it's starting to lessen your nerves. This to start improving your mood. This should start reducing your stress. But the herbs alone ain't gonna work because you may need to sit down with somebody, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and get to the root of why, and some people like, well, it's just that way. But why is it that way? One thing
Mm-hmm.
I learned that bad gut health and gut bacteria starts at conception. When your
Oh wow.
parents come together, that's when bacteria and all of those things begin to get created then. When the mother is pregnant, if she's extremely stressed, if she's dealing with abandonment, rejection, if she's
My
dealing
God.
has some sexual abuse, and she's had all of those things. So what happens is, this is genetics. This level of bacteria and dysfunction get passed down in the gut then. So when the child is born, they naturally have that bacteria. Now, if it's a natural birth, it passes, just straight through. So the child has to learn and try to develop and build that up. So it depends on how the parent eat. What's the parent environment like? What type of environment it brings the child into, because now the child brain is starting to get stimulated and functioning. And if it's not getting stimulated and functioning properly, bad gut health starts right then and there.
That's crazy. So you jumping into my last one is that spiritual thing. You see
Oh,
my antennas went up. I was like, ah.
right.
So
I'm
we're
sorry.
gonna no, it's cool because that is very good because I am a firm believer that everything that a child feel, I mean everything that a mother feels, a child feels. And so I
Oh yeah,
and
for
in the
sure.
while the baby is in the womb, right? And so if the mother, I'm also a firm believer that if the parents didn't want that child is going to feel that point of
Mm-hmm.
rejection. And that's why some
Yeah.
kids, you ever seen kids that come out and they just anxious for no reason? Some of that is passed out. Some kids come out and they're angry for no reason, like they have the best life ever, and then they're angry for no reason. Well, it could be that you're a product of rape. There's multiple reasons and variations that you just things that are working that you have no idea. So that was just very, very powerful that you brought out that those things are transferred into your gut, and then now you are dealing with levels of constipation, you're dealing with anxiety and stressors and things like that, and it's all holding in your digestive areas. What other areas do you see or have you dealt with other than just digestive? Because digestive, what about, I know that sometimes people carry things like even in their kidneys,
Mm-hmm.
that trauma.
So what happens is like, so that's like when you have a imbalance of bacteria, right? Or because our body runs by systems and triggers, all of those things are going to flow. So like, let's just say you ate some you ate something out of the frozen food section, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most things in the frozen fruit section have free radicals. What free radicals is, it's a chemical. It's a chemical that causes like cancer. It releases toxins in your body. So when it gets into your body, your body interprets it as something foreign. So it's looking
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, how do I get this out? I can't break this down. I can't do this. And the more you try to eat that, your body is trying to filter it. So it's shifting to different parts of your body. Plus, it's damaging the cells of your body, which is called cell separation. So when all of those things begin to happen, it's like almost inevitable for you to not have kidney failure, or you to have liver failure, or you have high liver enzymes because of just of what we're eating. And then the amount of stress with the way we're eating, that we're putting, and you got to think about everything you're taking in is got to find somewhere to live if you don't get rid of it, if you don't deal with it, if you don't address it. And that's why I said all of these things, they start, researchers say that this start at conception. So if you don't learn these tools and habits from the time you're brought into the world, and most people think like a child don't understand, but they do. The way we train them up and teach them, they would begin to understand, and they would begin to develop these tools, and we would show them how to deal with stress, like how we talked last time when you was talking about everything you're taking in is going to affect your body. was saying, like how you and Brittany, y'all sit man down and Zion down. You know what I'm saying? It's like everything that's giving them a tool to say, like, look, at some point, I need to stop. I need to sit down. I need to reflect. I need to evaluate some things. Because if they don't start to do those things now, children today, they are so hyper, and that's really because of like the cell phones and TVs, but that's a whole nother thing. But what happens is the more they begin to watch TV, be on cell phones and iPads, it disturbs their brain development. Time to develop properly because their brain developed. So when all of those things are happening, that is creating a level of stress on their brain, which is going to start affecting their digestive system, which is going to start affecting their gut, which is going to cause them to have a lot of sinuses, a lot of colds, and all of this stuff. And we don't, people say COVID, but if we pay attention, so many children are catching a lot of frequent colds, and it's not just due to the weather, it's part of their diet and what they watching in their environment.
I love that you brought up the children because um I do deliverance and inner healing with wits with Apostle Ray and Pastor and Prophetess Nakia. And one of the questions someone had threw out there to us was, why would you do that with children? They were like, why would you do inner healing? Because we have a session that we do once a year that's just for children. And they really came and said, like, why would you open children up to that? And my thing was, because I've been an educator in the classroom, I had never seen so many traumatized kids in my entire life. Like, we didn't grow up that way with having these life issues, like not knowing where our next meal was going to come. We didn't know, I knew where my next meal. These kids, we would literally pack their bags there on Fridays to give them enough snacks to make it back on Monday and not starve. And so I think when you're in kindergarten and you're having to deal like with that much trauma, it's tough. And then as an educator, you can only do so much from the outside in, because you cannot invade inside of a person's home. And so it just, I'm glad that you brought up how, so parents can see how their actions and the things that they do, and why it is so important for us to take actions to make sure that we give our children tools for stress, tools for anxiety, tools for trauma. And some of that is at our hands, right? Because most kids aren't
Yes.
traumatizing themselves. You know what I'm saying? Some of that trauma is a reflection of us. And when we are unhealthy, even if it's not eating, but when we are unhealthy with our stress and unhealthy with how we detox and unhealthy with our communication, when we become unhealthy with how we communicate with other people, when we are unhealthy, then we reflect that and deflect that onto our children. And then they in turn begin to take that ownership in that area too. And so, yeah, we have to be very, very, very careful. I am personally working on, because I've been so adamant about losing weight, right? And I have been intentional about losing weight. I've had to really be careful about what I say and how I say, um because when I was younger and I would do it, I would always, I've always worked out, but I would work out for health reasons. Just, it's just healthy to work out, right? But I found that I would be saying things like, I need to lose weight. And Zion would begin to take ownership. Now she started looking at herself saying, she's skinny as a pole. But I don't ever want her to say, because my mom is so conscious about weight, then I need to be conscious about weight, right? And I don't want I ain't gonna say insecurity, because it's not necessarily an insecurity, but it is definitely something that I'm intentional about. And I think it's just subtle and I'm using this as an example, and I'm using me as an example because it's subtle. It's something that I didn't even really catch, that Brittany caught. She was like, you got to be careful. And so I think we have to be careful as parents, because we forget that what we reflect out in the atmosphere, our children are picking up, and they are digesting it. And we can't, once you release something in the atmosphere, it's perception at that point. You can't control necessarily. You can go back and hopefully teach and talk to a child, but you can't, it's their perception at that point and how they're going to receive it. So I do, as you brought that out about the children, I do want us to be careful, just how we interact and what we allow our children to be exposed to, outside of the womb.
And another
So
thing we got to be, go ahead. I'm sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, when we're talking about weight, because everybody thing is I need to lose weight. Everybody is on this whole, and I'm not against, because I'm on my journey. You know what I'm saying? It's like to lose weight, but
Mm-hmm.
it's how we lose weight, because society is telling you that you're obese if you're not 135 pounds according to your height, weight. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and all of this stuff. I said, but what we have to understand, and I always tell people this: if you pay attention to nature and the animal kingdom, it will show us how we should live. And we'll say, well, I'm not an animal and I'm not this, but we are. This is like a whole ecosystem. We all connected one way or another. So if you look at an elephant, genetically he has big bones, vegetarian by nature, healthy by nature, all of those things, but he has big bones genetically. So he gonna weigh a couple of tons. He's not like a monkey. You know what I mean? He's not gonna
Mm-hmm.
be. So you have to understand your genetics, where you come from, your background. And yeah, it's good to lose weight, but our focus should be creating better gut health for ourselves, because when you do that, you are going to lose weight. You're going to get to the place where your body is supposed to be. You can't have a guy that's my nephew, for a perfect example. He was like 16 years old, 6'4", but he was only like 180 something pounds. And because he was so small and he was playing basketball, his he started developing fluid in between his knees because he didn't have enough weight and stuff, you know what I'm saying? It's like to support his height. So they started, you know what I'm saying? It's like having to do things to kind of fighten him up. He had fatten him up, but he had to have a surgery for them to drain some of the fluid from off of his knees. So that had to be understood, that now he need a little more weight to support his height and his bones. So it's not so much friction, that he's not just so skinny. So you have to understand genetics. Everybody is not going to be a size 2, 3, or 4. But yes, we want to be healthy. Where does good health start at? It starts in the mind. Good health starts in the gut. Good health starts with our immune system. Good health don't say, oh, okay, I just lost a whole bunch of weight, I'm healthy. No, because you have a whole bunch of people who lose weight who still have high blood pressure, cholesterol issues, and all of those things, and they still have an unhealthy gut. And their unhealthy gut shows because they lose weight. We're not pooping. Anytime you eat, you should have a bowel movement. Our body shouldn't go days without going. And that's a sign to let us know that there's some restriction somewhere in the nerves in our gut. Our body, we shouldn't always have diarrhea. We shouldn't always be detoxing. Everybody's on this whole, I want to detox, but there is a way for you to detox. A true detox, that means you should be pooping. You shouldn't be constantly running off, because eventually your body will regulate itself. You should be urinating. You should be sweating. You should be coughing up mucus. That's true detoxing. When
Mm-hmm.
doing those four things, not just I'm constantly pooping, because then that start to strip your stomach. You know what I'm saying? It's like your gut lining. And then when that happens, it start triggering other issues in your gut. And then we have reproductive issues. Women wonder why we can't get pregnant, because that's part of our digestive system, our reproductive system. We over abuse. We have a lot of sex partners, and that's psychological too, because of the trauma. And we use sex as an scapegoat. And we have man after man, and he get to unload the clip. And how do he live? And how do he think? And how do he feel? And how is he interpreting his life? And how is his diet? And now we take on all of that stuff. That's a soul tie. And now this stuff is tied to us, and it get tied to our gut. Then we go to the next man, or we go to the next woman, and then we have that bisexual thing, or we had that little people say they ain't confused, but you live in that confused realm. Because I said, you ain't gonna tell me that you don't want a man, but you want a woman who look like a man, dress like a man, put on a strap on like a man. Hey, that's confusion. But it's the truth.
I want you to stay right there, like, especially to this part, because I think that we lose sight of sexual trauma.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when we think of sexual trauma, we think of it as rape or something of that level of sexual trauma. But what I wanted to state and speak to that thing of sexual trauma would keep having these multiple partners,
Oh yeah.
because then you're with this relationship. Sex confuses relationships. It confuses the emotions. It can, let me rephrase that, it can confuse the emotions. And naturally, when you're having sex with someone, you're connecting with what's inside of them, and so you'll start picking up and doing things, and you won't even know where that stuff come from, but that's because you're connecting with somebody, right? And so
Right.
I think it's very, very important that we talk to that, because sometimes we can be loose with our bodies, right? And we don't manage our bodies correctly, right? And we mishandle them. I know there was a time back in the day where they say, if you want to get over one man, go get you another one.
Hmm.
The best way to get over one man, one heartbreak, is just go get you another man. And I would be like, so I'm gonna go get another heartbreak? If I'm just going to get a man to have sex with him so I can have a superficial and a moment of whatever, is that
Hmm.
really like helping me heal? And so I'm gonna stand and say no. I think that that's a part of brokenness. That's a part of our brokenness, speaking louder than healing could ever speak, right? And so I think that when you love from a healed place, or if you love from a place where you're not in dysfunction, even up here in your mind, you know what I'm saying? Then you can be healed in that, healed in that space, if that makes sense. But speak to that a little bit more.
But sex is, see, I look at it, I view it a little different. I ain't gonna go too much into it, but
Yeah,
sex is
let's go. Let's
sex,
let's go.
sex is a tool for healing. But we have to understand that's not a tool that you use with everybody, because
Exactly.
literally the two do become one. So
Right.
body just should not, you should not be just what they say, having intercourse, a person entering the course of your life. Somebody once asked me, why can I kiss these lips and I can't kiss them lips? I said, because those lips are sacred. Everybody can't kiss them.
Angel, you about to take me.
But you have to understand what parts of your body is sacred and should not be
Right.
explored, and they should not be played with, and they should not be touched, because when you enter that sacred place, what happens to you psychologically? You know what I'm saying? It's like you get a connection. So now we have that connection, and it's like, but this person not serious about this connection, or I'm not really serious about the connection. But what happens is, a lot of times when people get molested, raped, and all of that stuff young, either they become extremely promiscuous or they become sexually withdrawn. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or they draw to, like, say if a woman was the one who first touched them, or that was their first sexual assault, or whatever the thing was, they would naturally, you know what I'm saying, it's like draw to that. Or you would draw to what you think you need, and a lot of women do that, to say, okay, now I feel like I want a woman because a woman know me, a woman know my body. But listen here, a woman can never give you naturally what you need. You
I love
don't, you
that.
need
I love that. I also want to add in here too. When you start having sex, it awakens something inside of you.
us.
It awakens something inside of you, and it's almost like a Pandora's box, because you don't know what's going to come out. What is this going to awaken inside of me? And so I say, be very careful when you're just out here having sex, because there's something inside of you, because that's the insides of you, and that, especially for a woman, that is awakened. And now that it's woke, what are you going to do with it? And what is the person going to do with it? Are they going to mishandle you? Are you, like you said, because that's a part of healing too, right? So are they going to break you? Are they going to heal you? Are they going to, be tormented? What is that going to do to you? So you got to be careful when you are allowing your body to be used in a way, because then you'll find yourself. I'm gonna share this. I don't even know if I should share this. Yeah, I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna share this. I have to be careful. I have to think about, should I say this? I once had somebody say to me, like, no, I did not have sex with this person, but they literally said to me they wanted to have sex with me because they wanted a soul tie with me.
Mm,
And so that was scary to me because that meant you understood what this is about. And now you're trying to create something, and I don't know what you are about. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to deposit something in me, and you're going to be trying to take something out of me, right? And so you really wanted to create this tie that was going to entangle us together. Like I literally had, and I was like, oh, nah. See,
Because sex is the that's spiritual, and people they understand that. But the crazy thing is, a lot of people don't believe in this, but I truly believe in like the laws of attraction, because trauma attracts trauma, and this is why two people who has different levels of trauma attract one another, and they get together, and it becomes a holy mess. People
right?
be like, well, how? Because it's a lot of trauma that has not been dealt with. Although you have grown up, that trauma grew up with you too. So you
Right.
begin you're just throwing that level of energy out, and so you'll begin to attract that. So sometimes we'll say, "Why I keep attracting that type of man?" Well, then you got to start sitting down and you got to start doing some evaluation. Like
Right.
when I got married, I attracted a man who was exactly like my father. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize it, but all the mess and chaos that my mother went through when she was pregnant with me manifested in my marriage. And I didn't even know it until I asked her. So that was that generational trauma of how
Mm-hmm.
he used my mother, and how he abandoned my mother while she was pregnant with me, how he cheated on her, everything she went through while she was pregnant with me. I met a man who did that to me physically. You know what I mean? But I attracted that man because he came off like a father figure. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
I attracted the only thing I knew from conception.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we don't know, and we don't understand. But when you start seeing a pattern,
Mm-hmm.
it's like when you start seeing a cycle of things, you have to stop and say, wait a minute, this is a cycle, this is a pattern. I've seen this
Mm-hmm.
before. I need to stop. I need to evaluate this. Do we live in an information age? You could Google anything right now. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so many people out here that's full of knowledge that can help. But it's like you have to be willing to be transparent, and you know what I'm saying? It's like open with yourself, and overcoming trauma takes work.
It takes work overcoming. So I went on this unmasking journey, and I think to earlier today, you and I talked briefly, and I was sharing with her how um now that I've overcome and I'm in a I'm in a very healed place. I'm intentional about protecting my place of healing. I'm very protective about allowing people in this space because I feel like at this point in my life, I don't want to go back through some of that stuff that I did before. And the process took some time for me to heal. But what I've learned is now, not that I'm being tested, but the very things that I've done to make sure that I was healed, I am, those things have to be challenged. Not tested, but challenged. How will I know that I'm truly healed unless I'm challenged in some areas that will say, yes, you're healed? I remember someone read my book and it said, it was a man. He said, I read your book. He said I was expecting it to come from a woman's perspective, and I was expecting it, pretty much to come from thinking that it would be coming from a broken perspective. He said, but one thing I can say for certain, when I read your book, I knew you were healed. Like, you wrote that book from a healed space. And so I know that I'm healed, but sometimes even as I'm going and I'm testing waters and I'm challenging myself in some areas, I see that I am having to walk out my healing, if that makes sense. I have to walk out and be very intentional about, you cannot find yourself in that broken place again, right? You cannot find yourself in a broken pattern. You've already broke, you destroyed that, you walked away from that, and you know how to walk in that healed space. And so you have to be intentional about that. And so sometimes when things, if I'm having conversations and I get triggered, I have to remind myself, this is not that. So don't allow this to be that, right? Because it can throw me into that emotional place, cause me stress, cause me anxiety for no reason, right? And so I have to be very intentional about what I have overcome to not allow it to come in and try to be in my present in my present life. And so I just wanted to say that as you begin to walk in a place of healing, and as you continue, that it is probably a continual journey to walk in wholeness, because the enemy really, and I know this isn't the spiritual one, but the enemy really knows you very well. And if he can get you to accept trauma because you know trauma, and sometimes it'll try to gravitate to you because it recognizes that it once lived there, that it'll try to come back, and you accept it back in, and you walk in that
Mhm.
place of brokenness again. So it's we have to be very intentional about, in the midst of the process, that we stay there, like we stay in that place of those things that we have been healed from, that we don't go back and try to pick those things back up.
But then, yo, the company you keep, the Bible says bad company corrupts good character. When you are constantly around sick people, and I had stated this before, a lot of times we love the things that are not good for us. And we
Mhm.
love those things because they are so comfortable. They feel so good. I mean, it's like we don't want to change. And so what happens is when you don't change your physical environment, you will never change your internal environment. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're not going to change the way that you eat. You're not going to change the way that you talk. You're not going to change
You were chopping up, so you're gonna need to repeat that because you were choppy, and I don't think I want to say that what she was saying, but it was choppy. Yeah, you're
process things.
choppy.
You're not going to change the way you handle other
So I believe she's saying that you have to change your physical.
Can you hear me now?
Hold on a second. You're breaking up still. You're breaking up. So I believe she's saying that you have to likewise change your physical environments, because what we try to do is we try to change our environments. I mean, we try to change our insides, but we don't change our physical environments, and then we become influenced by the things in our physical environment. So if you continue to stay around certain places, or you continue, like if you're struggling with um if you are a recovering alcoholic, don't run to the bar, right? Because if you run to the bar, that temptation is going to come, and it's going to try to overtake you. So you have to be careful when you're in a process and a journey of healing, or healing your whatever part of healing you're at, that you don't intentionally go place yourself back in harm's way before you are healed, because those are the things that try to overtake you. Once you are strengthened, you may be able to go back and strengthen your brother, because that's word, to go back and strengthen your brother. You may be able to go back and do some things, but we have to be careful when we're still in our broken state and we're in our unhealed state, that we don't find ourselves running to a place that we know broke us. You run to you cannot, and I say this all the time to women, you cannot expect what broke you to heal you.
Yeah.
And one of the things that God had really spoke so clearly to me, and this is in my book, he talked about we go around, this is my words, not this isn't in the book this way, but we go around the mulberry bush, we go around in circles. We do not come to God first. We go to God as a last resort. And if we would go to God first and we can get back into the rhythm of heaven, it would stop us from bleeding out. We go to God when we're bleeding out and our blood is crying from the ground. You know what I'm saying? But he's saying, if you just come back to me and allow me, the word says, he that dwelleth in the secret place. So if we would go to the secret place and we would dwell in that space, then we can allow the Father to really begin to heal us. And if we can lay in his bosom and we can get our hearts back in sync to his heart, and we can come into an alignment with the Father, and we can be healed. But we don't do that. We go out, we are all over the place. We're broken, and we're hurting, and we forget to go to God. He's the last resort instead of the first place we run. He should be the first place that you run, not the last place that you run.
Mhm. And that's absolutely true. And I was while you was talking, I was thinking about the story of Jabez in the Bible, when because he understood where he came from, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it's for us to understand where we come from. And his cry was, God, enlarge my territory, because he didn't want to affect nobody the way that his life was affected. So he had to be able to see something different. You know what I'm saying? It's like he had to be able to, when he talked about enlarging his territory, everything that's around him, everything that he could see, it's hard when you don't see nothing or nobody else changing. It's very difficult. Like on me going on this health journey, it's like, everybody may not feel the same way that I feel. I have the level of passion I have because they didn't have a stroke. They don't have diabetes. When you have a sickness, when you have a disease, when you have an illness, and when something affects you, you interpret it different. When a traumatic experience happened to you, other people is not going to understand you because it did not happen to them. They're
Right.
carrying that offense in their body. They're not carrying that disease or sickness in their body. So how they look at life and interpret everything is totally different. So they passion for what they do is totally different. Like me creating the lifestyle journey that we've been doing, trying to help other people create better gut health and reset their hormones, because I understand that when your hormones get unbalanced, when you have poor gut health, what it physically does to the body, the level of inflammation that we have. We are young. You still young, even though you're in your 50s. We should
Don't we
be
tell
out.
folks our age?
My bad. We should be able to run marathons, and what I'm saying, it's like do all of these things, but we lack so much energy because our body is out of sync and it's out of balance. And I did, like, about 2 weeks ago, I did this 7 days of raw eating, and man, when I say the way that I felt, I took a 30-minute nap, and I promise you, it felt like I slept for 3 hours.
Wow. I need
How
that.
body was, because I was feeding my gut everything that was live. I didn't cook anything. I ate everything in its natural state, all of my veggies and all of my fruit. But you don't just eat any type of fruit and veggies. I want to just throw this out here because most people say, well, I had a bunch of fruit. I had apples, I had oranges, I had pineapples. Well, yeah, that's good. You did have fruit, but all that's acidic. So that's
Mhm.
not going to but give you some acid reflux. But it's okay to have an apple, maybe do some watermelon, maybe do some grapes, something, what I'm saying? It's like something like that. Eat you some green leafy vegetables. So you got to know how to, what I'm saying? It's like kind of blend, kind of mix things up. And so when I did that, I saw how much better, how much stronger I felt. What I'm saying? It's like when I woke up in the morning, my attitude was totally different. Like me and Ami, even though she wanted to argue, I was like, not today, sweetheart. We no. I got some good sleep last night. You is not ruining this. And I
Who said
understood,
that?
huh?
Go ahead. But I want
Oh,
to come back to sleep. Go
okay.
ahead.
And I was able to approach my day with a different attitude. And
Mhm.
so that is essential. You know what I'm saying? It's like for us to give our body a break when your digestive system is not working so hard trying to break down steak, all of these carbs, all of these different sugars, all of these different nerves, trauma, stress, confusion, when it's not overworking itself all the time trying to break these things down. And you give your system a time to rest, you will get the energy. Your cholesterol will go down, your sugar numbers will go down, your blood pressure will go down. You know what I'm saying? It's like you will be pooping on a regular. You won't be so nauseated. You know what I'm saying? It's like you'll start releasing eggs, and it'll be easier for your body to start getting pregnant because it's ovulating. Everything is happening and functioning. But when we disturb ourselves, is that's when we have the issues.
That's really, really good. That is really, really good. You said something, and as we are preparing to close, I'm going to give you a final remark. Um, but I wanted to talk about sleep because that's essential too. Like our sometimes our inability to sleep, although it's not digestive, but it's not it prohibits or inhibits our rest and our organs to rest and our body to just rest when we can't get sleep. And I know there's a difference between sleep and rest. Um, but can you talk a little bit to that? And
Well, it is.
what are your thoughts on melatonin? and things that help you sleep.
Yeah. Like I'm an advocate for melatonin. Because so what happens is that okay, when the sun goes down, right, your body has what is called a circadian rhythm. Everybody bodies have it. Every person, every plant, every animal have a circadian rhythm. When the sun goes down, your body starts to release melatonin, right? This lets you know the sun is going down. It's time to start getting prepared for sleep. Us, when the sun goes down, we like, no, I got all this work to do. So we
Hmm.
interrupt a natural process. When you take melatonin, all you're doing is more raising your level to say, no, you got to come down. Your body needs to sleep. So you're just raising your levels. The same thing is like if you take a magnesium, like the magnesium oil, certain essential oils like lavender, eucalyptic, those things are designed to help the body to relax and come down. Drinking chamomile tea, those are things that start helping the body to relax. But whenever we fight the natural process, we
Hmm.
our circadian rhythm off. So when your rhythm gets threw off, it's like, okay, my body releasing melatonin. I'm still up. I'm still working. What is some? Oh, look, look. I'm telling you, I thought I saw some. I saw some. Look, Pastor. Excuse me. Look,
Carry on.
so, and
I love you. I do
our
love you.
our circadian rhythm it gets interrupted, and that starts causing a whole nother level of issues. So our body don't have a chance to rest because we have not been taught how important it is to sleep. We feel like, okay, I get a few hours or I sleep when I die. It's like, no, in order for our body to heal and us to deal with trauma and all of that stuff, we got to sleep because our brain needs to function. A lot of our brains don't function because we don't get no sleep. They say when the sun go down, we should be going to sleep at least 2 hours after that for your body to get the complete energy that it needs and fully function. That's how we need to go to sleep.
I love that rest is part of healing.
It is.
I had to just post that. Yes, rest is part of healing, and it's important to get it because, yeah, it's very important to get rest. It's a place that I'm actually lacking in this current season of my life. It's getting quality rest. Like I get up all throughout the night. It's starting to bother me. It's really starting to bother me because I had just got into a good sleeping rhythm, but for the last 2 weeks, about 2 weeks, I have not been able to sleep. I haven't been able to get myself there. What are is there anything left that you would like to throw out? I do want you to speak on one thing before we I know I don't know what you want to say, but because I just thought about this because I don't know if we talked about it. I'm pretty sure it was me and you that talked about the value of a nice massage. Didn't we talk about that?
No, we did. But that's my thing. It's like, no.
I must have been talking to somebody and they were just saying how they started getting massages after they were feeling in this place of stress. They started getting massages, and once they started getting massages, it started helping their body, and areas where they were having difficulty, they now found it to be a little bit easier, as they got into a rhythm of getting regular massages and working out their bodies in that way, not just through working out, but actually physically going to get a massage. So we don't have to talk about that. What is it that you want to close out with though? What is it that
Okay,
you want to leave us with?
a few good things to help with good gut health. Get you a good probiotic, a good prebiotic. Um, Burdock root tea, dandelion root tea, they have capsules. Those are really good. There are some powders and stuff out on the market. You just have to look at the reviews, check them and see. If you're a person that like cabbage, sauerkraut, those are natural things. Oats, ginger, turmeric, those are really good things. Flax seeds, chia seeds, pistachios. Those are just a few things that I would throw out there that is really good for your gut things that are high in fiber, whole oats, eat whole grain bread, whole grain pasta. Those things add a lot of fiber back to you, which is going to be that driving force to create good gut health. And for your mental, start drinking you some chamomile, drinking you some ashwagandha tea, drinking you some ginger tea, some things that's going to help your brain function. Get you some ginseng. You know what I'm saying? It's like to help boost up that stamina. Those are a few herbal things that you can do to start helping your mind and helping your gut.
I love that. I love that. Um, I wanted to say, I'm gonna close out with this. This is kind of off for me to say this with this, because we're talking about the body. Um, I want to, and I probably should have said it last week, but it came to me this week, so I'm gonna say it this week because somebody needs to hear it, right? I want to say to somebody, I need somebody to hope again, to believe again, to love again. I so many times what affects our body is because we've carried around some sort of trauma that happened either by our parents or by someone that we really loved and we cared for deeply. That's why it traumatized us. um and so I want to just encourage and just speak that space of life to you, that you just love again, believe in love again. One of the things that I learned is that because I know what love is, I know what love feels like, that I trust God because I knew it once, He'll give it to me again, but better, right? And because I have something to measure it with, I will know it when I see it, right? And so I just want to encourage somebody who, um, I'm 51. I haven't given up on the whole concept of love, and so I want to encourage someone who may have felt, and then they carry that anxiety, they carry that weight on them, that they will not, that they are not enough, and that they will never have that because of age, because of heartbreak, because of life. I really want to encourage you that I'm just going to encourage you to love again, just to believe and trust God to give you what you need. And I believe that God will do it. I know we hear it all the time, but I just really, really felt that just very strongly in my spirit. Just if you have experienced love, He can give it to you more beautiful. You don't have to get it in the same place. You don't have to go back to that place that hurt you. God can give it to you and restore you with a love that is even greater.
Amen.
Amen. All right. So I thank everyone. If you want to get a hold of Angel, how can we get a hold of you? How can we get in touch with you? How can the people get to you? Y'all see, she talk about everything. This is what she do too on these one-on-ones. So tell them how they can get a hold of you.
You can inbox me. You can also reach me at angelhollins96@gmail.com. That is my email. I will respond. I
I
will
love
respond.
it. I love you, Mom. Your mom was throwing out some nuggets too, Angel. Your mom had said earlier, she said, put your child to bed by 8. 9 o'clock is way too late. 10 o'clock ain't your friend. At 11 p.m. will bring you to a no good end. I love your mama, girl. She said it. So I love it. If you guys want to reach out to Angel, please reach out to her. She is a wealth of knowledge. She is a certified herbalist that will help you walk through this journey. You do not have to journey life alone. You do not have to journey through trauma in your body, gut health. What she don't know, she will make sure that she gets the answers for you. That is a beautiful thing about working with someone. You do not have to be left without knowledge. You do not have to be left without having a full strategy and a plan to walk forward. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at barbara.a.bankston@gmail.com. You can reach me on Facebook, inbox me. You can reach me on Instagram at Barb Bankston. Facebook is Barbara Bankston. I am on Twitter. I don't tweet a lot, but I am on there as well. You can also share this. We ask that you share this because we believe that the knowledge is necessary so we can get it out there to as many people as possible. Next week, I am so excited. I will have Q Morgan on. He is a son to me. I cannot wait to have Q on. Q is a mental health advocate for men. I've had so many men like reach out to me in reference to my book, so I'm very much ready to unwrap with Q, and we're gonna unwrap trauma and the man. I think it's time for our men to allow that space, because they get traumatized too, right? And we be we be messing them up. We mess up our men, right? And so whether we do it as moms, whether we do it as wives, whether we do it as girlfriends, but us as women, we have to begin to take responsibility to some of the scars that we have left on our men. And so next week, Q and I are gonna get together. What'd you say?
Absolutely.
And we try to say we don't, but we've done it. And so,
Yeah.
anyways, me and Q gonna get together. And so I'm just gonna encourage you, if you have sons, you have brothers, you have husbands, boyfriends, have them chime in next week. We're gonna unwrap this thing for men. And we're providing a safe place for them to ask questions and get their answers. So I yes, I look forward to seeing you all. And then the last week of the month, I'm going to be on here with Apostle Ray Shipman and Prophetess Nakia Shipman, and we are going to do trauma and the spiritual side that deals with trauma, inner healing. So we're going to talk about inner healing and trauma and how these things coexist. Apostle Ray is a therapist by trade, so he works both with spiritual and he works in the medical field as well. So this is going to be an amazing, amazing talk. Thank you again, Angel, for sharing with us on tonight. I love you. I love you. And thank you so very much. God bless you all. Have an amazing night. Remember, you have to be both healed and whole. God wants you healed and whole. He said to the woman, "Will thou be made whole?" And so healing is a journey, but the wholeness is what we seek after. Amen. God bless you. Have an amazing evening.
Bye.